Hi there fish tankers, tetras. There are so many different kinds. They need many videos and then you won't even scrape the surface. And there are several that are popular in the hobby like these neon tetras. But what are my favorite tetra? Of course they are great shoaling fish, most of them shoal anyway, and they are mostly peaceful. So they form great community tank members, and there's always a splash of color and activity in the tank. So I'm going to count down my top 10 favorite tetras. If that sounds good, then stick around. How do we know that we have a fish that in fact belongs to the tetra family? Well, they have a little fin called the adipose fin between the dorsal fin and the tail fin or caudal fin. There you see it indicated with a little arrow. Now let's start with one that's not often mentioned, and that's the silver dollar, because it's quite a large fish. They like being in groups like most tetras. You get different kinds like the spotted silver dollar that you see there, and some are just plain silver, and some even have a black bar across their body, but they are plant eaters. There you see the black bar silver dollar. Now, so they'll decimate any sort of plant that you have in your aquarium. That's why you don't hear about them often, because planted tanks are all the rage. But if you have a tank with some South American cichlids or some larger fish, and you just have a hardscape only tank, or you have artificial plants, then silver dollars can be a very nice diver fish as well to have in a large tank of 5 foot or so. They do shoal nicely. They can be nervous fish, so make sure that we put the aquarium in a place where people are not going to be rushing past the aquarium close by the glass, because that might startle them. But if you have those things, they are a very nice addition to a big aquarium. Then the Congo tetra. Now, Congo tetra is another larger tetra, not quite as big as a silver dollar, but I wouldn't put them in anything less than a 4 foot 55 gallon tank. You need a number of them. The males you can see have those beautiful shimmering colors. The females are rather drab. As they grow bigger, it's easy to differentiate between the males and the females. But if they're still small, they sort of uniformly grey, and then you can just look at the back of a tail fin and you'll see the males will, even when they're small, have that little bit of white edging there. When they grow bigger, then the edges extend. Then this is a classical, but it always works for me, is a rummy nose tetra. The name is self-explanatory. Those little red noses can serve as a sort of a canary in a coal mine sort of indicator of your water. If that red spot on the noses fades, then you know you have to go and look at your water quality, maybe do a water change, because something is not quite on. And one thing that's very nice about the rummy nose tetra, they are very tight shoaling fish. So you'll see they swim up and down through the tank. They are a small tetra, but they need space. So I'll put them in at least a 3 foot tank, 29 gallon or more. You know, longer is preferable than a column sort of tank. And there you can see them going about their business, and they are a very striking sight in a planted tank with a sort of Amazonian theme maybe. That works well. Now you know by now I like this one. This is a diamond tetra. They don't look like much in the shop, but as they grow up, they become a rather larger tetra. So I'll put them at least in a 29 gallon tank or bigger. And you'll see these males displaying of each other, and some of the scales get enlarged, and then it has that diamond-like shimmer on it. So it is a very striking tetra once I got a little bit of size on them. And I spent hours watching them. I really enjoy them. They're great in a planted tank. They don't bother the other fish. And I find them to be quite hardy. All these fish that you see here can go in your normal sort of 6.5 to 7.5 pH moderate hardness parameters, and they will even breed in the aquarium if it's not a breeding setup. This is a heavily planted setup, and I find youngsters that keep popping up, so they're sort of colony breeding for me in this tank. And you'll also see that nice red eye that they have sometimes, that shimmers there along with the diamond scales. And there you'll see there's a baby there in between the Vallisneria. Some of the babies survive, so I have a little self-sustaining colony over here. Then we go on to the Colombian redfin tetra. It's another sort of bigger tetra, about the size of, slightly smaller than the diamond tetra. And they've got this beautiful blue bodies with little red fins. And like so many fish, when you see them in the shop, they don't look like much. Like over here, you can easily walk past them, but get a group of them. And as they grow bigger, especially if they have a nice planted setup, I wouldn't put them in anything smaller than a 29 gallon, 55 gallon is probably preferable. They really become nice looking fish, as you will see here. They live quite long. This one that you see is about 7 years old. It's been in my aquarium for a long time, and look at what they become. They become really nice looking little fish. Then we have a Rosy tetra. Once again, they don't look like much in the shop, just like the Colombian redfin and the diamond tetra, but look at them here after a few years. They won't take that long, it'll be in a month or two. Then they color up in this very nice deep reddish pinkish hue, and you can see those males displaying. They haven't colony bred for me here. I suppose the diamond tetras and the cherry bulbs, they outcompete them. But they are very underrated fish. You know, people often like the bleeding heart tetra, but the bleeding heart is a bit bigger than this one. So this can go in an aquarium, let's say about 20 gallons. They're not that big, but they're not that small either. So they have tall bodies, so they are great with things like angelfish that won't be able to eat them. And that pink color is something really subtle but quite nice when you see them displaying like that. So I think it's just a very underrated fish in the hobby that everybody sort of looks past. But I think it is a good one. Then the Emperor tetra is a sort of tetra. It's not a tight shoulder. They sort of move around the tank. There you see the male Emperor tetra. Look at the fins on this fellow, and you can tell it's a male because if you look at its tail fin, you'll see there in the middle there are those threads. It's got sort of a trident shape to it. And another reason why you can see it's a male, if the camera zooms out now, is it's got that blue eye. So when they're younger and the tail fin hasn't developed quite that much, then you'll see on the blue eye that it is in fact a male. And you'll see the females that's there at the background surrounding this male, they don't have as extensions on the tail, and they don't have a blue eye. And these actually colony breeds for me as well. In the Vallisneria, there's constantly youngsters popping out, and that to me is a very satisfying thing to see. Make sure you have a good ratio between males and females, so they're not all males, because they can get scrappy with each other. Males, and sometimes you get a black variety. I had a black baby popping up all on its own, a melanistic form of a Emperor tetra there in my tag. Then there's the lemon tetra, another tetra that's subtle. Unfortunately, I've had them in the past. I don't have them anymore, but so I don't have a photo of what they look like in the home aquarium setup. But they color up in the sense that that yellow, that lemony color becomes more pronounced on the body. And that's also a very nice high body tetra, like the Rosy, like the diamond tetra, that goes well with things like angels, maybe your smaller cichlids like blue acaras and the like. Then we have a penguin tetra. Sometimes in the old days we used to call them hockey sticks. What I like about these is they shoal quite tightly, but they stay on the top, just below the water surface. They occupy that space, and that's sometimes a handy thing to have. And they're quite striking with that white and black color. Just be careful, they are jumpers, so keep a tight lid on that tank or they won't last long. They'll end up on the floor. Then, moving on swiftly, this is my all-time favorite, and it's the Cardinal tetra. They've become a lot cheaper in the hobby. Maybe that's why they've not talked about so more, and they've now sort of become commonplace. But, you know, I would always pay a little bit more extra and get the Cardinal tetra instead of a neon tetra, because I just think it's just a beautiful fish. Great in a planted tank, peaceful. Get them in numbers. The more you have of them, the better display they will form. Well, that's it from me, guys. I hope you've enjoyed this video. Please remember to subscribe, and also tell me in the comment section what's your favorite tetra that's a bucket list fish or something that you've kept. And until I see you again, take good care of those domestic denizens of the deep.
Enormous